You fill the water. This way it'll keep it hot the entire time. So very simply, we're going to turn our hot plate off. And again, if you use the stove or whatever, and just to be careful, we're going to pour the water in. And again, we have 2 cups of water. Very important, by the way, again, is the purity of the wire. What we have here is 99.99% pure wire. So here you can see we have the unit made by a manufacturer. It's plugged in to a wall unit so that you can save the batteries. You then plug in the unit and you can see that it's working. You can also take it out, and if you touch the wires together, you'll get that little red light that comes on that says that it's a short. So we know the unit is working. We put it into the water and we let the unit sit and do its work. Now, every 3 to 4 minutes, you want to stir the wire. You want to use pure distilled water, not deionized water, but pure distilled water. Now, one of the things you saw that we boiled the water. The reason we boiled the water is for particle size. The hot water will conduct electricity better, and we will get a small uniform particle size. Now, again, every 3 or 4 minutes, I stir it a little bit, and if I see some of the black particles coming from oxidation, very simple, and you just clean it again very lightly, put it back into the water. Now, you notice that the wire is about 75% into the water, and that's a proper coverage. Approximately 20 minutes is the average amount of time to cook. You'll see that it'll probably stay clear. Again, if you taste it, it's a slight metallic taste. Some people cook it for 30 minutes or even 40 minutes, and they want that slight yellow tint to it. Now, if you see the gray, it means, again, impurities. And again, each time you use the unit, because the wires are individual and can be exchanged, one wire for the other, this way it'll allow your wire, when you rotate it like this, to actually double the length of time of your wire. But this is the unit. You can see how easily it is utilized, and this is, again, the next part of the 4-part Beck Protocol. The next part of the protocols that we're going to talk about is the ozonation of water and drinking ozonated water. Ozone has to be one of the most misunderstood elements in the entire world. There is more disinformation about ozone than anywhere. You've all heard of ozone. You get the ozone reports from Los Angeles or Mexico City or Hong Kong where the smog is in the air and you hear about ozone. Well, let me explain a little about what ozone is. Ozone is O1, O3, O4, O5. It's called singlet oxygen. We breathe O2. But up in the atmosphere, when oxygen is hit by radiation from the sun, it produces O3, O4, O5, and they've actually measured all the way up to O19. Now, that's a very unstable molecule. The O19 will break down to O18, leaving an O1. But let's go all the way down to O4, O3, because this machine produces O3. The O3 will break down, leaving O2 and an O1. It is the O1 that we use as ozone for the body. And actually, ozone inside the human body, or oxygen, this singlet oxygen, is what white blood cells use to kill bacteria. Actually, macrophages can surround bacteria. They open up a little valve called a peroxome, and they squirt hydrogen peroxide onto the bacteria or pathogen microbe. What is hydrogen peroxide? H2O2. That immediately breaks down to H2O, leaving this O1. And the O1 is what deactivates or actually kills microbes. Now, again, the body will produce catalase and peroxidase to stop the free radical damage from this singlet oxygen. Now, you've heard of this free radical damage, this singlet oxygen that they talk about, free radicals. And what it is, again, it's a chemical. This oxygen is minus an electron. It's looking for this electron. So what happens is that because it's so unstable, it will try and find something that has this extra electron. And that's usually pathogens, bacteria and viruses and microbes. Now, there's a lot of research in Europe using ozone. There's an extensive amount of research. Germany specifically has been using ozone for many, many years in the disease process using the medical model. Now, a lot of people think in the United States that ozone is not being used. Almost every top operating room in every top medical hospital has ozone in the deactivating or killing pathogens in the air. It keeps the operating room sterile. Almost every top operating room in the world uses ozone in the operating room. Almost every single water processing plant that makes bottled water will use ozone to make sure that the water is pure. Understand the body uses free radicals, or this singlet oxygen, to actually deactivate or kill disease. Now, there are places around the world that are doing phenomenal research. Cuba is one of them. Germany is another one, again, doing a lot of research. Now, people talk about, well, ozone, don't breathe the ozone. Again, what is ozone doing? Ozone actually deactivates every known negative compound that exists in the world. So up in space, up in the atmosphere, what ozone is doing is deactivating all the hydrocarbons. When you breathe ozone and people say, oh, it's going to irritate your lungs, what we found is no. What it does is it deactivates the hydrocarbons in the lungs. We all breathe anywhere. Most of the time there's smog. Where this original research came from about not breathing ozone, as an example, came from mice. And they put a huge amount of ozone into the air, and they found that within the first 3 days there was a pulmonary edema, fluid built up in the lungs. But then what they didn't report is that after those 3 days, the lungs returned to normal, and no matter how much ozone they put into the container, where the mice were, they could not induce death into the mice whatsoever. So what the ozone does is it will clean out chemicals that are in your lungs, and that's what happens when you breathe it. Now, it does cause an irritation, so I suggest not breathing ozone. Okay, but by ozonating the water, what you're doing is putting that in, and by drinking the water, you're getting that direct delivery system of the ozone right into the bloodstream through the stomach and the intestines. So it'll go to the liver through the portal vein and help the liver. It'll go into the bloodstream and oxygenate, and what you're actually doing is giving this singlet oxygen to the body so that white blood cells can do their job. Now remember, make sure you're taking your antioxidants, eating healthy, and if you're going to be ozonating water to promote your health, then stop all the negative things that take away or promote disease.
Yes, I have a question. Just getting back to actually breathing in ozone. So if you were going to be using this particular water ozonator, how would you avoid breathing in that particular ozone?
Now, one of the unique things about this unit is it puts out a low enough dosage of ozone that it does not exceed the government standard. So it's not going to put enough concentration of ozone into the atmosphere where you are in the ambient air or anything like that, where you're breathing it to cause that kind of irritation. But again, if you were holding the hose right next to your mouth and inhaling it, yes, that's going to cause an irritation. Don't do that. Use common sense on this again. That's one of the important things about natural health care. You're doing your own research.